Hello, it's Krista from Crafty Sides Wreaths and More. We're going to do a video on how you do a real easy little snowman. It takes a little time, but it's just simple, cheap products. We can use felt, ribbon, whichever color you desire. I'm not using the bells on this part of the hat, but we'll be using on the snowman. And then we use the foam board. But what I'll be using actually is the plastic container. So we're going to get started. Okay, now we just emptied the bells, took the lid off. And I go where the seam is at. And I just cut right along the seam. That's according to how tall you want your hat to be, how big you want it to be. If you want it to be bigger around than the one that I'm doing, you just use a bigger piece of the plastic, like where the Christmas ornaments come in. This comes from the Dollar Tree. And then we want our hat to be, say, about that tall. And then if it isn't straight edge, you can fix it, but it doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to cover it up. And you can wipe the sticky off or whatever. That's glue, so I'm not going to worry about that because it's going to be covered up. Now, after you get this part, then you want to get your brim. I'm going to use foam board. Okay, I'll find my edge. And then I'll take this and see how it's rounded. I just let it do its natural thing. I don't try to fight it. And then I lay it right on the edge to where this edge will be right at the bottom. You can take scissors or you can take a blade, whichever is easiest for you. And you just kind of measure. Just got that started. Make sure it's at the bottom. You want it to keep it round because that's going to be the shape of the hat. And then you just mark it. I'll do it at the beginning. And then I go back and do it. Okay, I just kind of need a measurement of where it's going to be. And the top. You need a straight edge. That's all. Anything will work. Always trim it down if you need to. After I get it marked, then I'll use my scissors to cut it because it's a lot easier, I think, that way. I'm going to take my scissors. Okay, this is going to be like a half hat. Looky there. Now I like that. Okay, then I'm going to take my glue gun, and y'all, my glue gun has been very active and very busy, so you can tell that it's well used. And what I'll do is I'm going to go on the edge of this, and I'm just going to put me a line of glue. And I do use Gorilla Hot Glue because it does real good and it lasts. To use what you want to, especially if this is for yourself. Okay. And then I just lay that flat. Put that right on the edge. Be careful, do not get burnt. I just make sure it's flat against the table. And then I just put it right against that. And that glue, you're not going to see that. It's going to be covered up. And do the same thing on the other side. There's that part. Now that's going to be the top of the hat. Now to do the bottom of the hat, I'll use the same thing. I'll use the corkboard. What I have seen with this size of a hat, I'd like to have about a 1-inch brim. A 1 inch from this to this, so it does have that brim. So what I do is I figure out about what I need, and then I'll make my line, and then I'll make my cut across through there. Okay. Then check and see how it's going to look. Make sure that it's plenty big enough. And then I'll use a bow or whatever. It may just use eyes, and I'll cut my round. And then I will add that. I won't add that to the bottom yet till I put the felt on it. But you'll have to cut a piece for the top. But for the brim, I'll just take and I'll cut off this little corner, and I'll do a little round like that. Set this on here. Set that on top of there. Make my little marks of where it needs to go. All right. And then I just cut it out. I just cut it into a square first because it makes it a little easier. Okay, we got this. And then that just fits right on there. Look, I did a pretty good job. And I'll just take a glue, and I'll just set this down. And add this on there. Get that back flat with the back. And then set it. until it dries. And there is the shape of my hat. And then I'll cut my brim and I'll touch it on the bottom. Now that we've got the bill cut out, I went ahead and cut the felt, and I'll show you how I put this on. I cut one piece too big, and the reason I do that is so I don't have to worry about the white showing. It's easier just to put it on and then cut off what you need, because that way you don't have to have anything showing. So I start with a base, and I put it on there and make sure there's overlap on every side. Okay, and then I go to the edge, and I put me a bead of glue right down that edge. And then I just turn this over and lay it flat on the table. So that covers that part. Get on there good. Okay, and then the same with the other side, with all the other edge. I just put a bead of glue, and then I set it on the table. And make sure that it's smooth. And just push it on there. Because you want the back to be smooth. And I just put it on there against the table like that. And that way, there's no bubbles in the back. See how smooth and flat that part is? And it's right against the table. And we'll go on and do the rest of the way around. Okay, that's got the sides. And then I'll take my scissors after the glue dries. And then I'll just cut it flush. Okay, it's according to what you use it for. Wherever I was going to use it for a wreath, I'm going to need a way to attach this to the wreath. So before I put this piece on the top, see I cut another piece and I made it to where it fits perfectly on the top. But I was going to show you to attach this to the wreath. Before I put this piece on, or before I add it to the hat, I'll take and I'll push me two little holes in this. And I'll take my X-Acto knife. And I'll cut it through to make sure I cut through the fleece. And I'll add my attachers before I go any further. And what I'll use is Chanel stems. And I'll be using a black one on this. And what I do is I take and I bend it in half. And I'll cut it in half. And then I'll bend this in half. Stick my end pieces through the white part till it comes down through the bottom. Through there. And then what I do is I take and get to where it's even. Take a chunk of this and twist it. And then I'll crunch it flat. And then I'll glue underneath of that. Let's go ahead and get the other one on. Okay, now I'm going to show this again. I took the X-Acto knife and I cut a hole through it. I took my Chanel stem, bent it in half. Take the open pieces, open ends, and put it through here. Here we go. And then I take a loop of this and I twist it. And I bend it down in half. And then I'll take the glue gun and I'll go under it and glue it really good. Okay, and then those will be my ties to attach it to. If you need longer stems, then just use a whole one on each one. And this will be how you'll attach it to. If you're going to put it on your Christmas tree, like an ornament, you could on the top one, this one, you would put the hose on this. That way you can hang it to the top or to the back. Either way. But I'm putting mine on the wreath, so I'm putting it on the bottom. Okay, I take a piece of felt, and what I did is I laid this on it, and I want it to be big enough to go all the way around. I didn't do precise, that way I can just fix it over. So I'm laying this in the center, and I'm going to fix it to where this will be about halfway. I'm going to do me a bead of glue right down the center. And I'm going to lay this over on and attach it. And then you want this to be tight, you don't want it to be loose. And come back over here, and I'm going to do a bead of glue down the center of that. So I want to cover up that little rough seam. And I'm going to bring this on over and attach that. Give that glue just a little bit, and then I'm going to cut off the excess. Okay, make sure my glue is on there good. Now on the top part where it's open, I just take and I'll just stick this down in there. What I'm going to do is first, I'm going to take some glue right on the inside there so it'll hold it after I fold it in. Glue in all over on the inside, and all I'm going to do is going to tuck it in. It'll give it a little bit more stability too in there because this helps hold it. And on the other side, this is going to be the top, so you don't want too much overlap on this part. So what I do is I'm going to cut some of this off. Okay, now the same process. I'm going to take my glue and then I'm going to fold it over and lay it down. Now the same process. We're going to take a piece. We're going to lay this on top, and then I'm going to put some glue on this. You want it close to the edge, but not too close. You don't want the glue to seep out and to show. Then we're going to lay this right on top here. I'm going to go to the back edge so I don't lose as much. And then we're going to cut off the excess. So it'll have a nice, smooth top. And then we'll trim it up and fix it. Final one. All right, we put the felt on there. We got this all done. Now all we have to do is add this on there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bead of glue. And I don't want to put it on the edges. I do not want it to seep out and show. I'm just going to put it kind of on the inside. All right, put this on there. I'm going to lay that flat, the flat edge. I'm going to lay it against the table. The flat edge of this against the table. And then I'm going to center it sorry, I got to turn it towards me for just a second. I'm going to center it right where I want it. Lift it up and hold it on and glue it. And there is the final.